The small town's missing persons cases have baffled investigators for years, but a common thread has been discovered: they all have a connection to a strange, abandoned train station on the outskirts of town. The eerie and desolate location raises suspicions and questions about what may have occurred there, and how it ties into the disappearances. As detectives delve deeper into the history of the train station, they unearth unsettling secrets that could hold the key to solving the mysterious disappearances plaguing the town. Explore various aspects of the English language, including its history, grammar rules, vocabulary, and regional variations. The train station wasn't on any map, and yet it stood at the edge of town like a monument to something forgotten, something sinister. The rusted tracks and overgrown platform hinted at a forgotten past, where untold stories lingered in the air. The station's abandoned facade held secrets that whispered in the wind, waiting to be unraveled by those brave enough to step inside. As I entered the mayor's office, I was immediately struck by the sight of a stack of missing persons reports spread across his desk. Each one was marked with the same eerie detail: the last known location was near the old station. The gravity of the situation began to sink in as the mayor explained the urgency of the matter, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. The station itself was a decaying relic, overgrown with ivy and rust, its once grand clock frozen at 11:11, a time that felt almost too perfect to be coincidence. As the ivy crawled up the walls and the rust crept across the metal beams, the station stood as a haunting symbol of time frozen in a place where nature and decay had taken hold. The frozen clock, forever stuck at 11:11, seemed to hold a mysterious significance, a moment suspended in eternity, beckoning the curious to unravel its enigmatic message. The last stop was a name uttered in whispered tones by the locals, as if speaking its real name might call forth something they were afraid to confront. It loomed in their collective consciousness, a place shrouded in mystery and dread, where lingering shadows and unsettling whispers were said to hold dominion. As the town's sole detective, I couldn't afford to believe in ghost stories, but the mounting cases of disappearances left me with little choice but to investigate. As I arrived at the station just before sunset, the air was heavy with an unnatural stillness, as though the world itself held its breath. The fading light cast a golden hue over the platform, adding an eerie beauty to the silence that enveloped me. The first thing I noticed was the sound, or rather, the lack of it: no birds, no wind, not even the distant hum of cars from the nearby highway. The platform was covered in layers of dust and scattered with old luggage, as if its passengers had vanished mid-journey, leaving everything behind. At the far end of the station, I found a door marked "Employees Only," its rusted hinges protesting loudly as I pushed it open. The small office was in disarray, with yellowed papers scattered across the desk, all bearing schedules and tickets dated to a single day, October 13, 1952. Dusty rays of light filtered through the window, adding to the aura of time frozen in the past. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I noticed a photograph pinned to the wall, showing a group of passengers boarding a train, their faces eerily blurred as if the camera hadn't quite captured them. I took a closer look and froze when I recognized one of the faces. It was Abigail Martin, the first of the town's missing persons, her expression one of quiet unease. My heart raced as I turned back to the desk and spotted a journal lying half open, its pages filled with frantic handwriting describing strange events on that fateful day in 1952. The journal entry vividly described the arrival of a late evening train, its mournful whistle echoing through the night. The passengers boarded the train, but none of them disembarked, leaving behind an eerie mystery and an air of unease. The final entry, written in shaky letters, simply read, "The train isn't taking passengers, it's taking souls." This haunting message implies a chilling revelation about the true nature of the train, hinting at a journey beyond the physical realm. A sudden creak echoed through the station, pulling me back to the present, and I realized with a jolt that the old platform lights had flickered on by themselves. Feeling anxious and apprehensive, I reluctantly ventured outdoors, only to be startled by a distant whistle piercing through the stillness, signaling the impending arrival of a train. The tracks, which had been rusted and broken just moments ago, now gleamed under the flickering lights as a black locomotive emerged from the fog like a shadow brought to life. The ominous building stood silent and foreboding, its windows pitch black and reflecting nothing. As its doors slid open with a hiss, they revealed an interior shrouded in darkness, hinting at mysteries lurking within. I stood frozen in place, my instincts screaming at me to run, but something compelled me to step closer, as if an unseen force was pulling me toward the train. Inside, the air was cold and thick, and the seats were occupied not by people, but by faint outlines of figures, like ghosts frozen in mid-conversation. I recognized the outlines, faces I'd seen in missing persons reports, including Abigail Martin, who turned her hollow gaze toward me as if she could see right through me. Panic surged through me as the doors slammed shut behind me, trapping me inside the speeding train. I struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events as the world outside dissolved into a blur of shadows, leaving me in a disorienting and unsettling situation. Panic surged through me as I stumbled toward the nearest door, only to find it locked, the windows now showing endless rows of trees that weren't there moments ago. The ghostly figures seemed to stir, their faces twisting in silent screams, and I realized with growing horror that the train wasn't stopping, it was taking me somewhere I didn't want to go. I fought with all my strength against the relentless pull of the train, my fingers clawing desperately at the doors as I shouted into the void. Suddenly, a low and mechanical voice echoed through the cabin, sending chills down my spine. "Welcome aboard," it said. "Next stop, nowhere." I was overcome with a sense of eerie dread and uncertainty, realizing that I had embarked on a journey to an unknown destination, devoid of purpose or direction. In that moment, I understood the truth: this train wasn't abandoned, it was alive, a predator that lured its victims with promises of escape but delivered them to oblivion. As despair began to take hold, I remembered the journal and the frantic scrawl of its final warning: "The only way out is not to board." As I closed my eyes and thought of the station, I willed myself back to its dusty platform, the echoes of departing trains and bustling crowds filling my mind. When I finally opened my eyes, I found myself lying on the ground outside the train, gasping for air. The transition from the mental image to the harsh reality left me disoriented and breathless, struggling to comprehend what had just happened. The disappearance of the locomotive was a surreal experience, as if it had been swallowed by the earth, leaving behind only the haunting sight of rusted tracks and the ghostly quiet of the deserted station. As I staggered back to town, my mind raced with the knowledge of what I had seen, and the chilling realization that the train would return, waiting for its next victim. My heart pounded with fear and urgency, knowing that I had to warn the townspeople before it was too late. The haunting memory of the missing people lingers on, their faces appearing in every shadow and their cries echoing in my dreams, reminding me of the lives that remain lost. I knew one thing for certain: the train was still out there, waiting, and the town's curse was far from over.